speaker is Ricardo DeBello, who is a U.S. Navy Gulf War veteran, who served as a U.S. Navy Specialist Warfare Combatant Craft Crew Member, Navy SWCC, a Special Boat Team 12. Ricardo also served 2 years on the U.S. Lake Erie, stationed at Pearl Harbor. Ricardo is now a minister and founder of Veterans Ministry Outreach. Welcome, Ricardo.
Good morning, everyone. So, ladies and gentlemen, servicemen, veterans, law enforcement, everyone gathered here today, welcome and thank you for attending today's Remembrance. Very special day. December 7th, 1941 did mark a day to remember in history. The tragic and unforeseeable events that took place on that day at the Naval Station in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, changed global history as we know it and changed the trajectory of our nation, leading us into World War II. Now, in the first 2 terms of my active duty, I did have the honor and the privilege of serving in Pearl Harbor. And I was aboard the USS Lake Erie, and oftentimes I would come in and out of the harbor as the ship would leave for deployments. I'd look back at the Arizona Memorial and other sunken naval ships. And where many souls rest this day, I'd say to myself, shipmate, I'm really sorry. America will never forget. All measures were taken and will be taken to our defense. And this is why we are here today to remember. Unbeknownst to those at Pearl Harbor, a fleet of 6 aircraft carriers with 400 planes were sailing 200 miles north of Hawaii undetected, the Japanese Imperial Fleet. They were out to annihilate the U.S. Pacific Fleet. The U.S. was unprepared and stirred and shaken on what would have seemed to be a normal and beautiful sunny Hawaiian morning, just shy of 0800 hours. And even before America fired the first shot, several servicemen were not able to show resistance to the Japanese forces as hard as they fought back. And as Japanese planes flew over the island with bombs falling and planes willingly landing onto ships, kamikazes, sailors and other servicemen fought back with every ounce of determination as they tried to remain alive, never giving up the fight. War was then declared in Tokyo, Japan on December 8th, 1941. Now, as far as the casualties, I'll briefly go over our losses in the U.S. U.S. Navy, 2,008 killed, 710 wounded, and made a total of 2,718. Army, U.S. Army, 218 killed, 364 wounded, a total of 582. U.S. Marines, 109 killed, 69 wounded, a total of 178. And civilians, 68 killed, 35 wounded, and 103 total. This makes a total of 3,581 souls that perished that day. As far as U.S. aircraft that were damaged at Pearl Harbor, U.S. Navy, 31 were damaged and 92 were destroyed. Army Air Corps damaged 128, 77 destroyed. U.S. ships damaged at Pearl Harbor. Battleships, 6 damaged, 2 destroyed. Cruisers, 3 damaged, 0 destroyed. And damaged destroyers were 3, with also 0 destroyed. And auxiliaries, 4 were completely damaged, and 1 was annihilated and destroyed. So the aftermath and the end of the war were followed by 2 atomic bombs that America dropped in Japan in 1945, killing and maiming hundreds, thousands of people, and their effects are still being felt today. By the end of 1945, the bombing had killed an estimated 140,000 people in Hiroshima and a further 74,000 in Nagasaki. This marked the final chapter of the confrontation between the United States and Imperial Japan. So what made this war different from any other wars in U.S. history? For one, Pearl Harbor was not a decisive battle. It was brought upon in the twinkling of an eye. The Pacific Fleet, though temporarily crippled, would return and rise quickly from the attacks. Moreover, the battle was not an instructive battle. Action had to be taken where prior training kicked into gear as immediate action response to combat Japanese attacks. So what has been the outcome of this particular war for the American people, for us as the American people, and why? Pearl Harbor drew together all the people of the nation to change the world and defend the one thing that we love the most, more than ourselves, and that's freedom. Pearl Harbor was a symbolic of our nation's survival because it brought Americans together, and America's hope reflected in the spirit that the American people cannot and will not be removed. The love of America and Americans will always persevere, and the unity of the American people will always win through honor and through victory. In closing, I'd like to read scriptures from the Bible found in the Old Testament, because as we remember, our forefathers laid the foundation of this nation with the principles of God. In God we trust. These two verses were relevant not only in the attack of Pearl Harbor in 1941, but are relevant today as a nation as a whole. This is found in Ecclesiastes 3:3. A time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up. Ecclesiastes 3:8. A time to love, a time to hate, a time of war, and a time of peace. So ladies and gentlemen, we pray that our nation never again finds itself in that time of hate, in that time of war. And we pray that our nation shall learn to love in a time of peace. Let us honor and remember those in Pearl Harbor on this day of remembrance. Thank you.